Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Adam from pop punk band Pallets.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Left in the dark, we laughed as it all fell apart. There's no reason to count all the scars. You shook it up but kept a chip on your shoulder. I wish this wasn't such a mess. One step and you come a little closer. Your breath sending shivers up and down my neck. So what exactly are we waiting for? Don't think that I can take it anymore. The type of chemistry you can't ignore. We got exactly what we bargained for. Losing all my self-control. I'm wrapped around your fingertips, invisible. Got me on my knees. You're truly happy. You spit me out. I'm in love with it. I think I'm in love with it.
Before we get into anything, I just wanted to throw out some easy questions and stuff. What was one of your favorite albums growing up, that you could listen to front to back?
Um, A Lesson in Romantics by Mayday Parade, for sure. That takes the cake for me.
Okay, cool. And what was one of your first concerts you ever attended?
Oh, that's a tough one because it was probably when I was pretty young. So I probably don't. It was probably some huge concert with family and friends and something like that. Um, but yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, for sure, I went to plenty of local shows, Mayday Parade shows, like smaller bands, Pierce the Veil, and stuff like that before they exploded. Um, but yeah, very first concert's a tough one. I'm sure I was young, but of my choosing, I'll go with those bands in that kind of local scene. So
Okay, cool. Um, I want to dig into some history. Uh, what sparked your interest to pursue music, and what age did that start?
So I actually played baseball growing up, like from the time I was a kid, and I played for like just about 10 years. And I actually suffered a baseball injury, so I had brain surgery. I had like 29 staples and kind of this whole big thing when I was like 14, 15 years old. And so that kind of took sports off the table. That's kind of the age where everybody gets starts to get real seriously into sports. And I had always been a huge music lover, and my brain was always kind of just stuck on music and, making things up in my mind to music parts that didn't have words or whatever. But it started about that time. I picked up a guitar when I was about 14, 15 because I had basically my life hobby was gone. So it seemed like the natural time to get into something else. And yeah, so it was about 14, 15 years old is when I got my first guitar and then linked up with Austin, who's one of the Pallets band members, actually. And he kind of helped me navigate that and a mix of that and kind of learning on my own. But somewhere around that, like late middle school, right into high school age.
Okay. Uh, and when you had that injury, what was there a decision you had to make? Okay, I'm not going to pursue sports. I'm going to get into something different, or what? How did that happen?
So the doctors were just like, you can't do anything for like at least 2 to 3 years, and we'll have to figure it out as we go, whether you'll ever be able to do anything. It was like no riding roller coasters, no anything that jars your head around. So I don't know that it was a conscious decision at the time. I don't know that I was thinking, okay, no more sports. Now I'm going to go do music. I think I just found myself drawn to it and drawn to making music. Um, I always liked like creative writing and poetry and those types of things in school as well. So it was a pretty natural transition, so to speak, or maybe even a continuation of those things. And I bought a guitar to write songs. Like that was my goal, was to write songs. So yeah, I don't know. It kind of just all flowed together, it feels like.
Okay. Who would you say are some of your musical influences?
Yeah, I mean, so Mayday Parade is like at the top of the list. Yeah, they just kind of shaped a lot of my upbringing and music upbringing. But there are other bands out there too, like 4 Year Strong was a huge influence. Always has been a huge influence. The Wonder Years is a huge influence. As we've gotten older too, like the Home Team and Movements are huge influences. So there's kind of a list, and I could do I could go on for pretty much ever. But it's kind of like that pocket of artists. But those are probably some of the bigger ones that when I think of what influences our music and shapes a lot of the writing and storytelling and things like that, it's those bands.
Okay, cool. Um, Tell me how you got together and formed this band. Did you know these guys? Did you put in ads looking for certain members? How did that come about?
Yeah, so the band started initially like in the EP. We started it in 2021 technically, but that guy Austin I was telling you about, who's in the band now, he and I started writing music and playing in different bands back in way back in the day, like that 2005 kind of world of pop punk bands and screamo bands, like the Under Oaths of the world were out there doing their thing too. Um, and we met then and we played in a lot of projects, and I ended up moving. We're actually originally from Arkansas, so this started in Arkansas, and we went to college, moved out, moved away. We felt like we never really scratched that itch, and so I moved ended up moving to Seattle in 2017, 2018 time frame. And it just so happened that there was kind of a big house of roommates, and a room opened up, and Austin was living in Austin, Texas, and I was like, hey man, you should come up. And he was already kind of stoked about the idea of living in Seattle for some amount of time anyway. And so yeah, he moved up here, and within like 4 or 5 months we were in the garage writing the EP, just because we were like, all right, let's do the thing. But then also Brian, who's the singer of the Home Team was playing shows, smaller than they are now for sure, in the Seattle area. So I was going to those shows when they were still smaller, and we met and talked about craft beer and kind of just became homies before pallets or music on our end ever entered the picture. So we became friends. So about the time Austin moved up, it was like a few months later. Hey Brian, what do you think about this music? And he was like, hey, I'd love to help you guys out, basically. And he introduced us to Hector, who's the third member of Pilots. And Hector had just moved here from Utah, also played in a bunch of bands growing up, on his home turf. And he moved here to do like music production full time. So Brian connected us with him, and we recorded the EP at his house, and sent it off to Alan Day, actually, of 4 Year Strong, to mix it. But essentially, it was Austin and me as permanent members. And then throughout that process, hanging out with Hector and getting close to him, and him being kind of close to the band, we invited him on as a permanent member as well. So now it's just the three of us. But that's kind of like the backstory of how the pod came together, so to speak. So
Okay. Did was Brian like a mentor to you guys?
yeah, yeah, and he officially was like the our producer. So for that first EP, he played a producer role, certainly a mentor role. I think even now, like broadly, he's a mentor, helping us like navigate, um, you know, not making the wrong, big bad decisions. Certainly, he lets us learn and make mistakes, and we do that on our own just fine. But I think he's, yeah, absolutely a mentor figure, a friend, very close friend, and now also producer for the EP. And then also we worked with Kyle Black to produce this album, and Brian also was a producer on this album. So yeah, he's kind of like the mentor, like help us not do something super stupid along the way. Close friend, and also like co-writer producer. So it's kind of like the whole shebang. He's also filmed several music videos. The guy's like a Swiss Army knife. So he's great.
That's great. Um, Tell me how you came up with the band name.
Yeah. Austin and I were in a band back in the older days called Maybe Next Weekend, and we started thinking about like the new project, and we were like, should we just pull that name back? Like, should we take it and run with it, and then maybe we can make an album called Palettes? I'm not exactly sure. Actually, I am sure. Forest Green was the first song we wrote on the EP, and it was meant to just be a playful, random word combination to help write some melodies. And we ended up kind of keeping it and liked the idea of the color theme. And so we thought maybe we'll bring the old band name into the picture and name our album Palettes, or our EP Palettes, for like color palettes. But something about it didn't feel right. There were other people in the band when we were playing back then in Maybe Next Weekend. And so we kind of wanted to like respect that, leave that where it was. It was kind of a new era years later. And so we decided, why don't we just lean into this palettes thing all the way, and make that our official band name? And then the EP was just a self-titled EP, and that's what we ended up doing. So it's kind of shaped our whole brand at this point.
Okay. Yeah, uh, that was one of my questions, was about the, you release this album and each song has like a different color for each name of the song. Like, I know back in the day when I was like in the studio and stuff, before you knew the title of the song, you would like come up with like, oh, STP type song or Soundgarden type song, because you didn't really know the name and you didn't have the song written. Is that something that you used in the studio? You just used the colors for each song so you would remember what they were?
That's a great question. We kind of did it for the EP. There might have been some of that, like, oh, this feels like this color, and we kind of decided right then, and then we worked and we wrote through it. For the album, we wanted to like really focus on just how the songs developed on their own, and then at the very end, we went back and went through all of them and talked through all the colors and how they sound and how they feel, and if there's songs that feel like other songs, and are there like color theory Easter eggs in there. So we actually just called them like song one, song two, song three, song four, song five. We went straight like confusing. They did take shape, and we did kind of like remember certain ones for their song numbers. But we didn't touch the color thing until like the album was done.
Okay. Okay, cool. Um, so you're based out of Seattle.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the music scene like out there?
Awesome. It's awesome. It's vibrant across genres. There's a bunch of awesome musicians out here doing awesome things, not just in like, there's plenty of bands doing what we're doing, whatever like combo of rock, pop, punk, emo, alternative. There's a lot of really good bands here for that, but there's also like some really good pop artists. There's some really good like more indie folk style artists, some more like rock and roll projects. There's a EDM like electronic scene here. Um, there's probably a hip hop scene too. I'm not as plugged into it in Seattle, but I can tell you like it's vibrant across the board, and that's something I really love about being in Seattle, because I love going to shows and meeting all these people. And there's so many talented people and so many cool artists doing so many cool, unique things. So, I mean, it's hard to summarize really, but I'll just say like it's amazing. It's a really awesome place to be playing music and doing the thing. And yeah, I'm surrounded by a lot of awesome other people doing similar things, and music producers too. So yeah, it's great.
Okay. If there was one thing you could change about the music scene or music industry, what would you want to see change?
Hmm. I think we're starting to kind of see some of this, or at least it seems to be openly talked about. But I think there are a lot of, I think it's an interesting time where artists are trying to figure out how best to kind of take back control. I think there are a lot of stories around like what happens when bands blow up, or what happens when they get hooked into the industry. Um, and whether that's for better or for worse is kind of ultimately from a band to band perspective. But I have heard plenty of horror stories around loss of ownership of your music, not getting paid on your music. And it's not like artists are out here raking in money, right? I mean, it's like it's a challenge. It costs money to tour. It costs money to make music. It costs money to make merch, at least up front. And so there's just a lot of like capital kind of flying around. And I think somewhere in that, the artistry has a potential to get lost. And so um, a world where, or a model where, like, artists can keep art at the center of what they're doing and not be so stressed out about all these other things and the potential to like lose control of your art, to lose ownership of your art, and to get distracted by all of these other things that that are also important as you try to grow. I think it's an unsolved challenge, and I don't really have an answer to that question. But I would love to see things just generally skew more towards artists and artistry, and to kind of help reset that, back to center. And I do think now, like in the digital age, artists are doing things that before maybe required more people to do, right? Like social media is a marketing tool, and we haven't always had that available. So it's kind of the bane of a lot of artists' existence to prioritize that. But it's also a really powerful tool to be able to get your music out there, to a pretty wide audience with relatively lower effort. So yeah, I just hope that like the music and the music writing process doesn't get lost in all that.
Yeah, I know what you mean by like you wish you could just focus on being creative instead of having to do like all this social media stuff and wasting like taking up all this time when you could be focused on working and making a great song, you know?
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna talk about a couple songs. The first one is Magenta, Restless, and there's some lines in there I really like where you say, "You know I love you, but the match is lit. You torched all my shit and burned the house down." Uh, and then in the chorus where you say, "I can feel your hands wrapped around my neck. You keep squeezing tighter and tighter." It's like suffocating in a relationship, you know? Um, can you tell me a little bit about those lines?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate you asking the question. Like, obviously, my goal is to make some of those things pretty visceral because that's kind of how it felt for me, just like really intense. But this song is actually, so when I was growing up in Arkansas, my brother and I, we lived with a single mom. She was on disability. She passed away in 2016, but she was an opioid addict. And so this song is actually about her. Bless her. She's amazing. She was amazing. But when an addiction takes hold of you, it's something entirely different. And I think this song is kind of trying to express how it feels to be suffocated by that. Addiction is almost like an additional person in the home with very little that you can do about it. Like when you're 15 or 16, your mom's in charge. She's the only adult at the house, and the last thing that you want to do is, um, further disrupt the home. But like those lyrics are about that exact thing. Like, um, you're blowing this whole thing up from the inside out, and there's not really much we can say or do about it without there being more severe consequences for us. And it felt suffocating. That environment felt suffocating. And so this song in general is kind of about that, and that experience kind of growing up, with, that feeling, and the bad side of it. Again, there's plenty of good. Like my mom was awesome, but when the drugs were in charge, like she wasn't herself. And this song is kind of about a lot of that and what my brother experienced and how we felt, how I felt in that environment.
I always liked it when the trees turn gray. It's in the breeze and how it numbs my face. You know I love you, but you just won't quit. It's always something, it's always something. And if I wanted it, I'd take it. But you're planted by the exit now. You know I love you, but the match is lit. You torched all my shit and burned the house down. And even on my best days, I think about you and I'm restless in the worst way. I've been distant, less persistent than I was back then. I can breathe again. I can feel your hands wrapped around my neck. You keep squeezing tighter and tighter, and I don't think that you can take this back. That you want to, and I don't think I want you to.
The next song is Sandstone, Silhouettes, and there there's some lines in there. Losing all my self control. I'm wrapped around your fingertips, invisible. Got me on my knees. You chew me up, and you spit me out. I'm in love with it, and it seems like okay. This is my take on it. Uh, Somebody's playing mind games with you, but you're at the same time you're addicted to the chase of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty spot on. I mean, at the time, it's actually about my now fiance and I. We had dated for several years and then broken up, and then a year or two later, kind of reconnected in secret. And we were kind of like seeing each other in secret. And there was a period where we knew this probably isn't smart. This probably isn't healthy. Nobody really knows what's going on besides us. And we should probably stop, but like we just don't want to. And that's kind of about that like push and pull of that experience, right? So it is absolutely feeling like caught in the middle of this is not the smart thing to do, but this is the thing that like feels good to do. So we should just, I guess we'll just keep doing it, even though we both know it's a bad idea. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of Sandstone.
You bring up break the same old story. Automatic, we left the room without consequence. I said before, if it's not raining, then it's pouring. So dramatic, and all the work we did is meaningless. Oh, late night, making shadows on your ceiling. Silhouettes telling secrets locked behind our lips. You say that you don't know what I'm talking about. I say we're better off together now. Losing all my self-control. I'm wrapped around your fingertips, invisible. Got me on my knees. You chew me up and you spit me out. I'm in love with it. I think I'm in love with it. Typical, so cynical. We talk for hours. Now you won't answer the phone. Love like a disease. You chew me up and you spit me out. I'm in love with it. I think I'm in love with it.
You mentioned Brian from the home team, and he did some lead vocals on Onyx, like Glue. Can you tell me how that like came together with him? Did he, did he just say, "Hey, can I jump on here?" Or did you suggest that to him? How did that happen?
Yeah, Brian certainly has full authority in terms of whether or not he is interested or inspired enough to be on a song, like to join a song. Um, in the first EP, he was on Sky Blue, which is our biggest song. Love that song. He absolutely crushed that feature. I mean, this guy crushes every feature that he's on. So I won't spend too much time glazing him, but he's an amazing artist and he's very talented. But the album process, the pre-production phase, like the full writing phase that lasted like a year and a half, is essentially a process where like Austin will kind of shape up the music, and then Brian and him will kind of polish it, and then it comes to me, and then I would write vocals, and then we'd all go in together, and Brian would help kind of polish it, and Austin, we would just kind of all exchange ideas in the same room. And so it was kind of like hey, Brian, are you going to feature on the album? Like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And he was down for it. And yeah, Onyx was kind of his song of choice. I think it's the most like renaissance stylistically song on the record for us. Like it's the most, we made like a slight turn towards like this groovy kind of like, R&B type, thread like flavor in there, and that works really well with like how with Brian's style and his natural R&B influences. And so I think it was just like a really good fit, and we're stoked that he was down to do it. So
Awesome. What is your plans for this year?
we're going on tour. Obviously, the album release on the 13th was kind of the first big thing. I mean, we started dropping singles in January, but the first real big thing that we had kind of on the docket. In May, we're going on a co-headliner tour with a band called All Hype, who's out of Portland. They also rock. Highly recommend you check them out if you haven't heard of them already. They were one of the Battle of the Bands, Ernie Ball Battle of the Bands finalists last year, so they got to play a Warped Tour main stage set. They're just awesome dudes. And so we're stoked to be going on tour with them. And there's some other bands that we're going to be with along the way. Summer Stars out of Denver, and then Worse for Wear out of Vegas, and then a bunch of other cool bands in local cities. So that's going to be from May 7th to the 23rd. And then we'll see from there. Certainly, we have some other ideas about how the rest of the year will go. Don't want to jinx anything yet, but yeah, certainly expect some more shows, and hopefully maybe even some other album related things like maybe a vinyl pressing or something like that. We also just collaborated with a brewery in Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas, called Social Project, and did a collaboration beer, a double hazy IPA that dropped on March 20th. So just a few days ago. So that'll be a really niche thing. Like only people probably in Arkansas are gonna be able to taste that beer. But we're super excited for that. The head brewer Jamie is a really good friend of ours, and that brewery rocks. He rocks. Everybody there rocks. So we're super stoked for that. That's kind of a bucket list thing for us. But yeah, so stay tuned.
Okay. Uh, would you be releasing some more music videos for some of the songs off the album too?
We'll see. We'll see. Maybe. Yeah, we definitely have the. I think Magenta and Onyx music videos are a couple of music videos we're really excited about, and yeah, it's safe to say we're probably not done with visuals just yet. We have a lot of songs to kind of choose from, and we'll see how they do over the next few months and which songs people like, and that'll probably shape some of our decisions going forward too. So.
Okay. And how do you usually figure out who who likes certain songs? Is it like you go on YouTube and see how many likes they get or how many views, or how do you decide on that?
Yeah, there's so Spotify is one of the key places that we look. You can see metrics. Like we have there's a separate app for artists. You might know this, but for those listening, there's an app called Spotify for Artists. It's a different view. It's if you have an artist page on Spotify, and you can see just general streaming numbers. You can see like over certain periods of time. You can see demographics in terms of like where people are in the world listening to it, what age brackets. It's all pretty anonymized, but like we kind of get signals from there. We also get some sentiment signals from like social media. If there's a song that people are just kind of reposting a lot, or at shows telling us that they like a lot. Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of all things. I don't know. It's kind of like vibes, and then metrics from the platforms we can get metrics from. So Spotify, YouTube, absolutely. And then if people interact with us and tell us what their favorites are, then that also helps. So yeah, it's kind of just like as best we can.
Now, would you use those numbers to figure out where you're going to go tour at?
Good question. Kind of, but in reality, it's really hard to say. Like, it's not always a one-to-one match for where your listeners are versus like who buys tickets and goes to shows. So I think there are some markets out there that maybe they don't have as many streams in that city, but like the people might be more prone to showing up. I would say at this point for us, everything's on the table. So we're going to do a West Coast run here in a couple months or a month and a half even. But we've done like some East Coast opener shows. We'd love to get back to the East Coast, up to like the Northeast part of the country, and then like Southern. We haven't done anything in the South, like the Texas, Oklahoma, kind of like Tennessee, that whole kind of pocket of the country. We haven't really touched at all. So Midwest too. I mean, everything is on limits for us right now. There's definitely not any place that we've like oversaturated. So yeah, the short answer to your question is kind of. The longer answer to your question is like everything is on limits. So
Okay. Where can we get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, absolutely. We are pretty much everywhere as at Pallets Band. We also have a link tree, so if you don't know, just go to our link tree, Pallets Band, Palettettes, like color palettes. And yeah, we're on all the socials and every streaming platform pretty much that's available. We our music is accessible there. So, and of course YouTube.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, just super stoked to have been able to chat with you, Randy. Thank you for having me, and buy tickets for tour. Come sell out these rooms. Appreciate it.
Alright.